Using step-by-step procedures to start your aircraft enhances your simulation experience where your flights begin. This video applies to basic Microsoft Flight Simulator and the Steam version. The principles might apply to other flight simulators. This video applies to default aircraft, not to third-party aircraft added later. The Control-E keyboard command initiates startups for all aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator. More detailed step-by-step procedures work in most of the aircraft. Startup procedures are fairly realistic in most of the aircraft. Some controls in Microsoft Flight Simulator are inoperative, however. Switches, knobs, and buttons are depicted, but they don't do anything at all. Other controls are fake. Some switches, knobs, and buttons move, but they do not affect the startup sequence. Consequently, the procedures are not exactly like the real world. Startup procedures differ somewhat for various aircraft. In Microsoft Flight Simulator, they are the Beechcraft Baron, Beechcraft King Air, Cessna Skyhawk, Cessna Grand Caravan, de Havilland Beaver, Douglas DC-3, Grumman Goose, Mooney Bravo, and Piper Cub. Some controls are easier to see and use on the two-dimensional panels. Sometimes switching between 2D and 3D panels is necessary during the procedures. Pop-up windows can be useful and even necessary. To start cold and dark, you need to shut down everything. Cut off fuel with the mixture or condition lever, or use the standard keyboard command Control-Shift-F1. Then turn off all the electrical power that you can. These include avionics, instruments, and lights. Turn off every switch, knob, button that you can find. Some people recommend saving your flight and reopening it in the cold and dark condition. Passengers should be on board, doors closed, and grounds clear when engines are started. The Cessna 172 procedure is typical. Other aircraft are similar. Be sure your parking brake is set. Advance the throttle slightly to allow some fuel to enter the engine. Turn on the battery to power lights and the fuel pump and to spark the engines. Then turn on cockpit lights if needed. Open the fuel valve by setting your mixture control to full rich. Turn on the fuel pump. Turn on the rotating beacon. It's required by law whenever an engine is running. Turn the starter switch. Hold it in place if necessary. Turn on the alternator. Adjust throttle as needed to achieve the recommended instrument readings. Turn off the fuel pump. Turn on your avionics. Some aircraft, such as the Piper J3 Cub and the de Havilland Beaver, require opening a separate fuel valve before starting the engines. Each engine of multi-engine aircraft such as the Beechcraft Baron and the King Air 350 must be started separately. The Beechcraft King Air 350 is a turboprop twin. The fuel valve is opened by setting the condition lever to low idle. Start the left engine first, then the right. The manual startup sequences are inoperative in the default Extra and Mall Orion. They would not start manually after many attempts. Furthermore, I found no person who knew otherwise. If you are using third-party aircraft, follow the developer's instructions and checklists. In lieu of instructions, try the basic methods. Battery first, then fuel, rotating beacon, starter, and electrical. If you can't get it to work, ask the developer for solutions. To shut down an aircraft, follow this basic procedure. Secure the parking brake. Cut off fuel by moving the mixture or condition levers to 0. If the aircraft has separate fuel valves, close them. Turn off all electrical items. If your startup procedures don't work, recognize which default aircraft don't start manually, the Mall Orion and the Extra. Make sure you are following the checklists precisely. Be sure you are using the keyboard commands correctly. If you are using an add-on aircraft, contact the developer for answers. If you still can't get it to work, search our forums for possible solutions. This tutorial video was written, produced, and narrated by Bill Stack exclusively for Flyaway Simulation. Tell us about how helpful this tutorial was for you. Share it with other flight simmers who might benefit from this information as much as you did.